So it's a little crooked. For some reason my stand's being a little funky today, which is all cool and copacetic. But I did not actually get to film a separate day for my day 8. We're on day 9, and so I just decided I'm going to combine the two. This is pretty sad. Probably still gonna use it because like I said, I've been experiencing a lot of food shortage. But yesterday, what happened yesterday? Day 8. Day 8 was easy. I prepped a lot of my food. I wasn't as angry. So I wasn't as angry as I was on day 7. And it's because I did get back in the flow of things and consuming and eating like as I should. It was just, it was a pretty easy day. Like, I ate, I drank a lot of aloe yesterday, a lot of lime, because for the last few days it's just a whole bunch of mucus busters. And I will say, mucus been coming out each and every way that it can. So I'm not really surprised. I get a lot of clarity on a lot of things spiritually. With this cleanse, I just feel like my spirit is super duper active and loud. And yesterday I got to address the shadow of my follow through. Why do I start things and then I stop things? And I was having a conversation with my partner about it, and it was like the last thing on my mind. I remember that was the last thing I asked myself before I KO'd, is like what is it that makes you react this way? Like, why are you this way? And one, I will say that cutting down on drinking, I don't really drink. Cutting down on weed and cutting down on, excessive eating has been making like a lot of shifts for me spiritually. Like, I can hear myself a lot better than I've ever had in a long time, which is exciting. So last night, again, I had a freaking weird dream. And I'm realizing that this is kind of like my gift. If I really want to know something about myself, if I ask myself, and I used to do that when I was younger. And I guess that's just something I kind of strayed away from because my dreams weren't that consistent. I couldn't really remember them. There was not I didn't have the best recall or whatever. But I had a dream. The dream was essentially, it was like, to make a long story short, I was in some sisterhood, some type of sorority, and we were on a bus traveling somewhere. Now, it could have been to a school or it could have been a road trip. I'm uncertain about it, but I just know it was like a school bus. And this lady was hyper, infatuated with me. I was on the back of the bus, but, like I said, everyone was a sister there. So it was like, okay, we're all sisters. So we're having a conversation. She has this kid. So adorable. Reminds me of one of my friend's daughter. That's the energy I really got. Cute, loud, wants everyone to be their friend. How are you? My name is, And so this little girl was just all over the bus, showing people her toys, talking to them. Thought it was cute. Still keeping an eye on her, but the mother in itself was really infatuated with speaking with me and talking with me, which I found super duper odd, because I'm just really weird about people, freely letting their kids roam with, with people they don't know, because people are weird. And so still keeping an eye on this child. Then the child sits down in one of the aisles, and I end up taking the seat right next to her. And I'm still talking to the mother, still confused why she's not paying attention to her child. And what ends up happening is all of a sudden there's a man there. It's not even all of a sudden. I just never recognized the man until later. And this guy kind of looks like O.J. Simpson. Don't know why. So he's sitting in the seat with the girl, and I'm watching, and it just appears to be a very innocent conversation. And I don't innately think it's weird for men to talk to children or anything like that, because I feel like both masculine and feminine is needed in child's growth. So I actually love when men are interactive with children, and they provide that sense of like logic and that left brain to the child. So I thought absolutely nothing of it. And right now I'm actually making the mucus buster, which is just 4 lemons. And I realized that with this, a lot of times I just don't like, when something's gross, it's just really gross to me. And it's not that this is gross, it's just harsh. So I'm not one of those people who can just guzzle something. I used to be able to, but I can't. But back to the dream. So this OJ guy is sitting next to her and talking to her, having conversations. I'm talking to her mom. I'm looking over just to reassure that the child's okay. And every time I look over, it's like a different scene's going on with the child and this man. And eventually, one of the scenes seemed very compromising. Kind of looks like he's coming on to her, which makes me uncomfortable. I don't say anything because initially I felt like I was seeing things, and I really wanted to see what he was actually doing. So at first it just looked like, he just has her in our lap. And I have my own sexual traumas, so I could have just been biased. It's how I saw it in the dream. That's what I did in the dream. I could just be biased because I have my own issues that I'm going through. And then I'm talking to the mother, but I'm like, looking at my peripheral like, what this Negro got? What he doing? And sure enough, as it progressed, it just becomes more and more blatant that he's being a predator and he is sexually assaulting the child, in which I told the child almost angrily, come over here, I got you. And I'm holding the child and I'm crying. The child is just kind of like went from this very bubbly, hyper, typical child to like void and almost emotionless. And I'm the one doing all the crying. And this man is still in a compromised position because I caught him red-handed. And I'm looking at the mother and like, it's like no one reacted to the situation. And I'm telling this man about himself. Like, you nasty as, oh, get out. You ain't, and you will never be. And I'm just saying all this shit. But no one else on this bus is reacting. Like, no one has any sense of empathy or sympathy. And, I'm still holding on to the girl. And eventually, this man, to avoid me or avoid my words, started talking to some other people on the bus, talking about how he was moving chapters. I don't know what that means, but that's what it's in the dream. And that, he's tired of being here or whatever, just kind of showing like he's just gonna disappear. And he gets off the bus, and I have the kid, and I literally woke up in tears, like dead ass tears, for a lot of reasons. First, like, no one cared. Not even the mother. Like, no one cared about this child. Not even her mother cared about her enough to like get as agitated as I got. Like, I literally almost swung on this dude. Because how dare you? Like, you just convoluted her whole idea of masculinity now. I know it's a dream, but I was still mad. And what I got from that, because like I said, the last thing I asked my spirit was, what is holding me back from follow through, is that I was a child. And it was talking about my own sexual abuse and how I don't feel like I got empathy, or no one actually understood. I lost myself. That's why that little girl ended up being very like void of everything. I lost myself and a lot of my esteem. And that's not to say that, I don't think that's necessarily anyone's fault. Like, the mother being wrapped up, I think also symbolizes my own feminine energy growing up. Like, the mother being in other things or not being attentive. But I never really told anyone about my sexual abuse. And I experienced quite a few as a child until I really got into high school. That was the first person I ever told was my high school friend. Before that, I just never said anything. And so interesting, right? I asked my spirit a question, went to sleep. She was like, this is what it is. This is why you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. This is why you're not following through. This is why every time you start something, like, you get overwhelmed. And it's just a lot of the emotions I haven't dealt with. What was really cool for me is that I reached out to my friends about the dream, and they essentially also interpreted that me in the dream actually represents me now. So I am now my protector. Like, I didn't have one back then, and maybe even just visualizing my future self, or maybe my higher self, maybe that's who I represented that dream, but that I am protected. Someone grabbed me and is now caught, like, I am now having to, you know, nurse myself, baby myself, deal with my inner child. And honestly, I don't really think I would have gotten that before this detox. Honestly, I think I wouldn't even have remembered. I probably would have woke up crying and completely not know what's going on. I'm a Pisces moon. Yeah, you know, I be in dreams. Like, I'd be here, I'd be there. So I thought that was a really good interpretation, that my friends saw that it wasn't just solely that no one was empathetic and to my situation as a kid, but that now I have the capacity to protect myself. Now that I have the capacity to nurse that kid back to health. And it says 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought that was really interesting. Confirmation. Look at the angels. So yeah, so really that's what kind of sums up my day 8. Also, I still watch a whole bunch of mukbang with my partner, and we watched a documentary of, essentially it's called visual satiation, I think it's called, where essentially you look at something and you fulfill yourself through looking at it. And I learned a lot about food and the eyes, and how even us developing, and this could be, you know, this is science, but it's still a theory at the base of it, that we developed color spectrum to actually identify food and the difference between food and what is poisonous to us. So I thought that was really interesting, and it actually explains a lot of why we get advertised the way we do get advertised, why things look juicy and creamy and, you know, all that type of stuff, is because it's still our biological clock. So getting back to the basics of eating and cleaning out my colon has been really cool. Also, my clothes have been fitting better. Like I said, I weighed myself at the beginning of this, but I told myself I was not going to weigh myself until the end of it, because I didn't want to make this a weight thing. I wanted to make this a spiritual thing. But yeah, like, what an amazing dream. Like, not really, but still, like, oh my God, that was, what great revelation. Like, that the reason why I won't move forward is because that child is still, you know, wounded, still not being attended to, still being put on the back burner, emotions still not being empathized. Wow, just got it. My spirit wants me to empathize with myself. I empathize with a lot of people. You know, I listen to a lot of people. I give a lot of advice. Eventually, my plan is to offer advice on energetic indigo for those who really just need someone to talk to, because I'm really good at perspective and being able to see the spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect of what's going on in other people's situation. But wow, spirit literally wants me to find compassion and empathy for my child, the wounded child inside myself. And my relationship specifically has taught me that I have just been going. I've never taken time to rest. And my idea of rest is still in a state of worrying or being anxious, which is not true rest. So I have never actually had my spirit just be at rest. So I've learned that in my relationship, that's what my spirit wants me to do right now, is to actually rest, be still, and essentially heal my own wounds and not try to replace my wounds with like working and, you know, music and doing all these other things, because none of this will matter if I'm not healed. Dang, that's, wow, that's what it is. And the funny thing is, I have a wounded, well, a Chiron. I would call it wounded. I have a Chiron in Leo. Leo represents not only children, but it represents self-expression, creativity, and a lot of times when I do creative pursuits, there's always like a start up and a stop and go. And so I'm really proud that, and I know my guys are like, yes, she can hear now. Like, for the last 2 years, you have not been hearing us. Like, we've been telling you the same thing. Even my cards, every reading I ever got, whether it be astrological or like tarot or like interpreting a dream, it's always been like rest. And as you know, I'm a Capricorn rising. I also have Capricorn in my 12th house. I also am a Capricorn, Neptune, and Uranus. So rest seems like sloth or laziness, like I'm not doing something. And I realize I've never learned to just be still. And so that's what my spirit wants me to do. Like, literally go at my own pace, take time to heal myself, and actually attend to my wounds that I got as a child, because that is what's going to liberate me. Thank you, Ashe. Spirits, look at you. Look at you. Wow, that is profound. See, this is why I love having spiritual friends too, is because I wouldn't have even made that last connection. I would have just like, oh, it was just my wounds. But the solution was also there too. I was just so emotional about the actual dream, because I related to it, obviously. And then the main reason I'm like anti me having kids, like, you can have kids, I don't want kids, is because I realize that kids are like blank canvases, and if your one touch on them can change their whole course of their reality. And I think that kind of scares me with kids in general. So I kind of like, oh, I just don't want to fuck them up. Like, kids deserve, because they really do deserve the best. They're angels. They're like the purest form of energy down here, which is why essentially like a lot of elitists and stuff like that attack kids, specifically why a lot of children go, that's not the video for today. That's not even what we're talking about. But that's really why. It's because it's like the purest form of energy down here. And I just don't want to be the person to mess up the canvas, you know? So that's why I'm really excited. That kind of motivated me to like really do some of my work. I just bought some candles, so I'm gonna do some black shadow work to definitely bring in the Sagittarius energy and like solidify everything for Capricorn that is coming. But so I did definitely buy like some black candles and found black sage. I don't know if you know, my stage name is Black Sage, so finally that was like, oh my goodness, like it's me. So the day right after like my dream or whatever. And so I'll be doing a mirror, a black candle ritual, so I can really sit with my shadows and really talk to these hoes and be like, look, motherfucking here. We gonna get this. The whole court is out of order. You're out of order. Like, you know. So I'm excited. I'll be doing that. Doing a few energizing baths to like literally clear out my chakras. And a few teas. But yeah, today we are on day 9. So I get to eat some food very soon. Very soon. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. It seems so far away when it was at day 1, but being at day 9, literally having one more day to go, it's like, dang, 10 days, one is not that long, but also like what makes it feel long is the mind. I realized that It is genuinely the mind that keeps things feeling so far and so out of reach. And I'm really grateful, honestly, for this detox. I said that I wish I'd kind of did a fast, because I'm bad with like schedules in general. Like when I get medication, which I rarely use medication, but when I do medication or certain things and it's on a clock schedule, I'm trash. I don't try to pretend like I'm better than I am. I'm just trash at it. Like, I'll get it in the hour in which it says, but I literally forget. I go about my life and like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this right now. So